in the whole stage of where we are as married couple, priorities have changed. But in each of these priorities, we sort of sit down together and then, first of all, work out our sums. What are we dealing with today? Like, how much are we spending? How much can we save out of that? How much can we then afford? And then where our priorities are at that point in time.
Welcome to Wise and Shine. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut.
And I'm Dawn, SGBudgetBabe. Today we are recording our first ever Wise and Shine episode live with a crowd right in front of us.
Yeah. It's our first time, so thank you for joining us. And importantly, we brought important guests together with us. Okay, so this side more importantly, this one later. Yeah, between us, come. Aaron, you want to introduce yourself?
All right, I'm Aaron, Head of Wealth Advisory. Basically, it really means a lot of things, all the way from outlook of the markets, where do we think one can be positioned in the various life stages of one itself, and also a different look at the aspects of financial planning in terms of how one can do to prepare towards various goals.
Yeah. So how important is marriage and coming together as a pivotal moment in wealth planning?
Well, actually, it's very important because that actually constitutes a long gestation period of our own individual lives, right? And even if you break it up into individual
you're
segments,
sure still a long gestation period?
It is a long gestation period.
That's the goal, That's the goal, right? That's the goal. Long gestation period.
We all strive to be. Yeah. But and it's important because even in a marriage life, there are different stages. Newly couple, what do you want to look at? All the way down to maybe having kids. Then the priorities change. You realize that the husband is now the secondary, the primary is now the kids, I get that.
Bro, that one
time.
is a personal, it just came out.
Yeah, I know.
Husband becomes secondary, kids become front and center.
Yeah,
right.
But that also goes for financials as well. Where are you spending the money?
Okay.
It's now transition from enjoying yourself in a lifestyle now to center upon the kids. And as the kids grow up, the priorities change again. Okay. It's now more towards education, planning towards, what are the different financial needs during that stage as well. All the way down to, when the parents get older, again, this is now a sandwich generation between having kids and parents now, and preparing towards retirement. So there's a lot of different changes and communications between each and every part of that. Yeah. And how do we then think about dealing with financial aspects of that, and that is something very interesting.
Yes, and most important, cannot forget the husband after have kids.
Yeah,
okay, this is important. Yeah, husband. Nick, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Nicholas. I'm Don's husband.
Enough. We have been trying very hard to push you away from Don's husband and Nick the realtor. You want to introduce yourself?
Right, I'm also a real estate consultant. So I manage the portfolio for our family. Yeah.
For today's episode, we're going to focus on the different financial personas, right? So all of you are tagged, right? Essentially, you have done your OCBC FWI financial persona quiz, right? So you will see your color, right? So you can look around, different people got different color, right? And you will know that they're all different groups, right? So the whole idea of today's episode is, okay, you yourself, you can plan well and good, right? Your own persona, you can do everything on your own, no problem. But when you come together with your partner, they have differences, right? Like sometimes differences quite different, right? So then how do we kind of come together on this together? So maybe for a start, right? How about you did your financial persona quiz, right? You did, right? Yeah. So can you just let everybody know what is your persona?
I think I will open up by first talking about how your biggest financial decision in life is actually who you're going to marry. I think many people don't realize that because when we think of who we want to marry, we are all caught up in the K-drama, all the romanticism, right? We're like, no, I want to just marry someone I love, someone whom I want to wake up next to. And then you forget later on when those feelings fade, and they will fade. That's what all the older couples all tell me. In time, everything fades, right?
So fade already not?
Heaven, don't anyhow.
Heaven fade, okay? She's still good, yes.
Yeah, so it's really also making sure that you guys are on the same, standing, the same footprint, same goal, and things will change and navigating that together. So for us, like, I grew up in a family where my parents argued a lot and very often about money. Yeah. So I knew right from the start, I did not want to go into a marriage where that would happen to me. I would not allow it. So we had our financial conversations quite early on. I think I did the second or third date already, right?
Wow.
Very early
真不愧是
on.
budget babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you expect no less from her. Third date must stop.
I think second
Yeah.
or third, very
Yeah.
quickly we open up already. And then along the way, it's really aligning with each other. Because, once you sign the papers, that's it, the ring is on. You want to take out later, very messy one. Better get everything right before it starts. So that's us. Well, we did agree. Surprisingly, we thought we were of completely different opposites because previously, before OCBC came up with this quiz, the general take is, are you just a spender and saver?
Yeah.
Right? So you just decide within the couple who's who. Great. Ideally, you want someone who's also the same personality of you, like you, but it doesn't always happen.
Fair.
So we knew and we thought that, he is obviously the spender and I'm the saver. Okay, so okay, this is opposites attract. Then, we just gotta work through that. But we took the quiz and surprisingly, we both got the planner.
Oh, okay.
But we disagreed though. I think he is the dreamer, right?
He's a dreamer.
I feel he's the dreamer.
Is
and
it?
I
Nick, you want to
feel
defend yourself?
I'm
Are
a
you the dreamer?
steward.
I'm just being more positive.
Okay. Yeah. But for the sake of the accuracy of the quiz, both of you are considered
Planners.
planners.
Planners,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. And I'm the enthusiast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, what? You don't think I'm the enthusiast?
You'll be like the planner. Kind
Really? You think
Yeah.
I'm very planner style?
Of. We look to be.
Okay, no entrepreneur is a planner. Very hard one. How to be an entrepreneur if a planner?
Okay,
you
that's
gotta
true.
jump
Okay.
in and get the thing going, right?
Okay, that's true.
Yeah. But okay, yeah. And what about you?
Mine is quite different. So I'm in a camp whereby, when we got into a relationship, I think it was fine. Meaning to say, financial wise, we don't really talk about it. We're just more conscious. But in terms of, we both took the quiz as well. I'm the planner. My wife is actually the guard. So it's quite different.
Okay,
So now we have
okay.
differences. And along as we, in our marriage life, we do feel the differences. There are different contexts in terms of how we look at, our the way we spend, the way we save, even the way we make investment decisions, and also financial plans as well. Quite different.
Okay.
Yeah.
But according to the OCBC FWI, the gut is ranked quite low.
Yeah.
Right? In this
Yes.
index, okay, nothing
Yes.
personal, just
Yes,
within the
yes.
index, right? So how do you can you help us understand a little bit like this conversation with your partner? How does it work?
So the key word indeed is communications. And even to today, I must confess, it is not easy because being guard, also she's very guarded. Your money is my money, my own money, you cannot know. So I don't really know how much she has. Very guarded.
Oh yeah.
But I think one
But does
very-
she know how much you have?
Probably
she will
if not-
find out. She asked a lot of questions. It's like, so that's where the unfairness comes in, right? I
Some of
remember
the
there was
priority
one
is the kids
very
now.
interesting situation about a couple of years ago, and we had a family party at my place whereby she invited all her relatives, her cousins. They all came in, and I think that was also a period whereby equities was very hot. Everybody was very enthusiastic about investing. So all the little cousins came in and were asking a lot of questions, how do you invest? And then she kind of like latched on and says, oh, okay, I like this idea, I like this idea, I like this idea. But I'm very careful. Of all the ideas, she chose what she wanted and she went for it without telling me. And after some time, about 2 years later, I said, okay, I've exited these positions. I've got out already. And she said, but I didn't. And she was stuck there. And that created a bit of like a negative experience for her. And thereafter, she became even more guarded. So now it's like a continual effort to try and open up to her and says, actually, you still need to think about some form of investing. Just different ways of doing it, which we can talk about it later.
Yeah. She invests in you lah, right? Right?
Yeah.
That's a family unit, right? Okay. But anyway, just for clarity's sake, there is no right or wrong financial persona, right? No one persona is better than the other. It's just an attempt to try to help everybody understand yourself a little bit better so that you can use that as a basis to communicate with your partner. Okay. So nobody is better. Not say planner means better. Okay. Although planner does rank a bit higher on the index lah. Okay. But that's a different discussion.
Correct. And I think that respect is the first basis because like some couples, right, you see them look down on the other person's persona. So if you go into the relationship with the mentality that I'm the saver is always better than spender, that's just a recipe for disaster. Yeah, it's gonna cause a lot of conflict.
That sounds like
later
personal
on.
Experience.
No, it's what we avoid.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we see that happen with other couples
Okay.
and we learn from their mistakes, right? So up front, I mean, obviously you're all going to come in with your own judgments. So every saver is going to think the spender no good. The spender will always think, yeah, the saver too conservative, why you never spend, so cheapo, so miserly, all that kind of stuff. But it's important to like take the judgment out. I think that has been what really worked for us because we were so conscious of that when we had the conversations with no judgment, really to seek to understand each other's perspective, and then we can see the value that each other's perspective can bring. So for instance, so I tend to save a lot, right? And I struggle with making decisions that the amount to be spent is actually a bit higher. And that's where he'll come and like, no, actually this is worth it. Like, I'll be like, oh, should I do this? And he's like, please, if you don't do this, it's worth the convenience. Like, but if we do this other thing, it'll be cheaper. Like, no, but the kids are involved. It's going to be very difficult. Like, pay for security, pay for convenience, pay for not privilege, but things to make our life easier. So the mental side of things, we won't be that stressed, right? But the savers, we tend not to think so much about that because we're like, I just want to get a better deal. I want to spend less. Yeah, and it's the other way around as well. So when he spends and then he tends to not always like, he's a lot better now. Over the years, we influence each other, right? So I spend more and he save more.
Yeah, can let him
but when
talk
in the
already.
beginning, maybe you can share an example.
What do you think? Defend yourself. Come.
Like an example of when you wanted to spend, but then after we talk it through, you change what you spend on.
Nick, no pressure one. You can take your position one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess Dawn and I, we complement each other. I think the very first thing we need to identify is we need to identify the value of each person. Yeah, so she's a saver, right? What is her value for saving? I'm a spender. What is my value for spending? So I think along the years we compromise. I like to spend on big items, but before I spend on any big items, right, I always speak to Dawn first. I want to hear from her perspective. Even though I really, really like it, I can justify that I want it. But if I couldn't get her approval, right?
I sense a lot of ground engagement. So, a lot of people have got similar experience.
If I couldn't get her approval, right, I will usually shove it. Yeah,
Okay.
I will usually shove it.
And then you'll slowly seed it, right? Takes a while.
Until she's ready lah.
Yeah, until
She
she's
sees the
ready.
value, then once she give a green light, then we'll proceed.
Maybe let's contextualize. Like, one example is the car. If you all have followed me from the beginning of my blogging days, you might remember I wrote this article saying like why getting a car does not make sense in Singapore financially, and you should just take Grab, take public transport, blah blah blah, right? And he got a car. And then like even today I get like hate comments on that article sometimes. Budget babe sell out. She won't never get a car. Then in the end she buy
Then
a
she
car.
buy a
Family.
car. See.
Like that was last time, right? Things change, your perspective
Yeah.
change. So yeah, he was actually the one who talked me into why we needed a car. Like, yeah, maybe you can share how that was like.
So initially, I can share Dawn's sentiment. There was a point of time where taking Uber and Grab was still quite affordable. Then the prices shot up, and my appointments at the point of time was quite hectic. So I can range between 6 to 10 appointments in a single evening. So I probably need to Grab to many different places. So it came to a point where I calculated, actually I Grab more expensive. Then I might as well get a car. So that's where I decided to speak to Dawn and say, look, it doesn't make sense for me to spend this amount. If I buy a car now, actually I spend lesser. So I justify my spending.
Yeah, so we went through the maths together because in that article, my basis of comparison was like for my type of job. Where in the morning, right, you take the cab to the office, then you come back, you take the cab home. That's it. It's 2 trips a day.
Yes.
I couldn't see or relate to his perspective until he shared with me. This is someone who takes 6 to 8 trips a day. The numbers there don't make sense. So actually, if the 2 makes sense for you not to get a car, but once you 2 times 3 times 4, the math just works itself out. Really, a car is much more viable.
Fair.
So that was one that he convinced me. And then after that, then had the conversation on which car to get. Yeah, so obviously, guys being guys, cars are your toys, right? You all just want the
Very stereotype.
nice one.
Very stereotype.
Am I wrong?
Very stereotype.
Stereotyping, yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, he also wanted like cars, and I also drawn to like, I'm like, wow, that Tesla car so nice. 200,000. Okay. Yeah, so we had that conversation the next step. Then we decided which car would be a good enough financially, made sense for us at that point in time. And then we upgraded later on as well. Yeah, we upgraded our car, right? We paid a bit more, and that was after our first kid was born.
Just
Okay.
before we were planning for our second kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before this become a car advertisement, okay, let's come back on this, right? But that's a great story. It provides a good context on how usually these are conversations are at, right?
Actually, I just want to chip in as well that
More car
me and my
conversation?
wife, no cars,
no more
cars.
cars.
Similar,
Move on. Yes.
similar
Okay.
concept is that Chip and my wife is actually quite different. She's a spender, but on small items. When I mean small and spend, it's like frequently. It's like every day she'll buy something.
So she's like Taobao.
Yeah,
Shopee,
Taobao. Every day
that
must
time,
have
yeah.
Taobao. No Taobao that's not a day. A day didn't pass. Must have Taobao, So she'll find excuses to say, oh, this thing all already must change. The recent one is even more ridiculous. I hope she didn't get to see this.
I was saying to her, she will see this.
She's on a trip now. She already left for a trip. And I said, why you bring pillow along? Who brings pillow for holiday trip? I said, yeah, but this pillow already lah. I bought a new one. So this one bring go there and throw. I said, like that also can find excuses to throw old pillow so I can buy a new pillow.
And anyone guilty of that? I know of people that do that. No? Slipper, shoe, everything.
To me, it's like you bring it to the sun it against pet, and still okay, can use, right? But I for me, it's on the reverse. I'm a more of a saver, but on the bigger items, I tend to spend a bit more. And that's where quite similar is that we will then discuss in order to spend of these items, because it's, for example, a car, it's a big ticket item.
Yeah.
Then we actually break it up into stages. I say, okay, I'm not comfortable with the loan, having such a big loan. For me, I think we need to save up to a certain amount, and then we make plans. And shout out maybe for it within OCBC, we actually do have an app that says that, if you want to have a savings goal, you can actually key it in, and then actually you can make plans that automatically deducts. And we use that. And my kids, recently my daughter came to me and said, yeah, Dad, I'm using that as well. I'm saving up for a concert ticket in the coming months. So I'm
no more.
Yeah,
Okay.
so she sets it automatically and she builds towards that goal.
Okay. Great. So
And I think that's important, right? Because if you think about it, when you make decisions as a couple together, there's also less resentment later on.
yeah.
Because sometimes decisions can be wrong, right? And only time will tell. But then, right, if the couple didn't really discuss or one went ahead with it without the other and it goes wrong, then the blame game starts. Yeah, and they'll be like, yeah, see lah, you lost all our kids' university fees lah. See lah, you buy lah, go down, right? The stock market crash.
Where are you channeling this energy from?
From what I see online.
From what you see online. Okay,
Right?
interpreting online comments.
It's everywhere, and it's so sad. And then later on, like you see all the stats. These people, the couple, they divorce, they separate because money has come in between them. And I just think it could have been avoided, because if you make that decision together, there's no blame. Together, right? You want to blame that, oh yeah, we invested in the wrong thing, we bought the wrong car, we should have bought this property instead of that property. Right? It was a decision that we made together. There's no blaming here. And I think that keeps the relationship healthy.
Yeah, fair. I can agree with that. Okay, so maybe I want to talk a little bit about this whole like money narrative type of idea, right? Which is what you have in your head, right? Of course, you can call it scripts, you can call it beliefs, depending on what school of thought. It's just different words trying to say the same thing. That means what the idea in your head, okay? So we just standardize and call it a money narrative, right? And to be clear, everybody have different narratives, right? And when you are first starting out building a relationship and a family together, things are there, like it's different, but it's not glaring. It always feels like, can I accept one? We can work this through, right? It's not that difficult. But then there will be a moment in this relationship development where you'll be like, wow, this difference really is too much, right? Like, can you share a little bit of that moment? Like this one moment where it's just too much.
Have that.
Yes,
Because Dawn, initially, she's very risk adverse one. I'm more of an optimist. I always see the potential gain of something. She will see the risk of it. So whenever I see opportunity, I'll be like, wow, opportunity not bad. If I see a slight chance that I might win, right, I will go for it. But she's not. She will tell me everything negative about it. Then every time we have this conversation, right, I'll be like, oh, why this woman just so risk adverse, cannot take it really. Then we did have a lot of conversation, just that it didn't occur like argument or something like that. So we came to a point we realized, hey, actually, she helps me. I'm someone that jump off the plane without a parachute. She will tell me, hey, you need to put on your parachute, you need to check the wind direction before you jump off. So I always listen to her first, hear all the possible things that can go wrong, then put in my checklist. Then I'll see, okay, actually she does make sense. Is this the risk that I really need to take. Then I decide whether I want to proceed.
Fair.
Yeah.
So you know what does it show? It shows that, right, you're not a planner, you're a trained planner. She trained you.
I have to agree.
Right,
I was not a planner.
You're not a planner. Okay, fair.
Because of different personalities, and as a result of that, different strokes for different folks. Yeah, so for me, I'm a planner where I tend to, partly because of job, I'm more constructive. I look at the markets all the time. But that doesn't mean that to have that misconstrued, that doesn't mean that if you look at the markets all the time means you will participate in everything of investments. I tend to also have the conservative side of the way as well. So I always have a strong advocate that I'll always partition a certain percentage of the money into something that's more conservative, so that I know of that. And then a certain portion of it, I tend to grow to want to have a bit of a higher returns and grow, take a bit of a risk. My wife, on the contrary, she cannot do that. She cannot sleep. So for that she makes a very conscious effort to be much more conservative, to the point that sometimes I need to sit down with her and sort of hint to her that, at the end of the day, if you don't do anything, it's all going to be eroded away. And she look at me, but I'm happy with that. I said, huh? You're happy with that? Then I still need to okay, how about we look at a common goal? So always and centered upon where's our common goal, where do we want to achieve as a minimal upon our retirement, and when would that be? And with that common goal, we then build in that, okay, since you are more guarded, you're more conservative, do something that you can slip, do something that you're more comfortable, but make stages and make progress in that. So hence, we do make that little checklist. Is okay, now let's just do this.
Fair. And to be fair, right, it's not the first time I hear okay, in a relationship you must have common life goals, then it will go long, then you can build together, right? So but retirement is a very far-flung goal. It's a big goal. When you first start in a relationship, a few years in, it's not about retirement, right? So maybe you can share a bit of context, what was your first life goal that you sat down together and set, and then how did that feel
before the wedding? When we are really serious about a relationship, we want to get married.
Yeah, but the actual goal that we had a financial plan together was for the wedding, because before that we didn't have any big expenses.
Yeah, correct.
And we did have some arguments, really shout, yell, meltdown kind of arguments.
What is it about? How is it?
That's when you are learning to find out with each other, right? And then the stress gets to you. Those of you who have been through wedding planning, I'm sure you can relate. So many deadlines, so many vendors to coordinate and all. It just really gets to you. So, and then you have to work with each other's schedules as well. You don't go and take photo shoot, but then this person working, the other person also working, and then the other person take leave, and then so many things to do. Realizing how we reacted made us more self-aware of ourselves and each other as well. Yeah, then after that, the next one was the house.
No, maybe just on the wedding first. Is there how do you reconcile that? So it's a treacherous time period, right? How do you kind of come together finally on it?
Maybe recognizing that we were just stressed. The only reason why we yelled at each other and broke down was because we were stressed. Then we decided, let's not do that again. Yeah, so how to is don't be so stressed. Or now we try not to talk about money when we are not in a good space. When we're really stressed out, we try not to talk about money there and then, because we know from experience that tempers and emotions will flare. Yeah. So choose a better time.
Yes.
Couple timing very important, right?
It's true. Please don't walk past the corridor. Hey, I'm going to do this. Okay, bye.
I think it's okay to let your partner know that, hey, look, I'm not ready to talk about this at this juncture. Give us some time first. Let me cool down or think through, then we speak. I think it's very important.
What is a good time then, if that's the case? So if there are all these bad situations, how do you prime this type of conversation? Because after you have the life goals, then you must kind of talk about the strategy, right? How do you go about doing this? So how do you prime the conversation? How do you get to a good position that you will increase your success rate?
Yeah. I remember there was once, when we first got married, we were staying with my parents because we can't afford, we stayed with my parents for a couple of years. And then our first kid was born. So literally, I will say that our house is one room. It means say that our living room, our dining room is all that one room, because you have a bit more privacy. Yeah. So that's it. And then we discovered, okay, I think it's really time to start saving up for a property, buy our first home. The question is what, where, and how much? So that one is Me, I wanted to go for it. Say, property prices was at a point in time quite bottom. Let's go for as big as we can. And then stretch ourselves and just be a squirrel. And she looked at me, Aaron, do you really want to go through?
I mean, I know what's a squirrel, but what's a squirrel?
Squirrel means whatever you earn, as much as you can, everything goes to the house.
Okay.
And then you try and clear the debt as much as you can. And then it means you buy above your budget.
Okay.
Because at the point in time, I felt that house back then was it's just gonna be no return.
Okay.
But for her is no, I'm more guarded. I want to have something that I'm not as stressed. I don't want to be held so much responsibility and worry about the loans. So that's where a bit of a conflict comes in, where I want to go for something big, dream big, go for it. For her is no, let's get something more reasonable within our reach. And then having to reach that compromise.
So how do you reach that compromise?
Yeah, so hence, for me, it is really to find an in-between sweet spot. Say, okay, what is your stretch limit? And then slowly...
Then you stretch her stretch limit.
Slowly over some time, maybe 1 month,
it's like, actually, what about this? Like, also can, right?
Well, yeah, so if you don't spend this, you cut down your restaurant, then maybe we can add this amount, right?
Let me think about it.
Yeah, times 4 times, every day you cut down by one extra restaurant meal, then it gives you additional, right? Then this one, toilet paper, don't buy this brand, buy this brand, slowly adds up, So you slowly takes about 3 months to push that limit up.
Okay, I love how toilet paper is part of the discussion. Okay, just so that I buy a bigger house. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
I ask myself this question. Do I want to argue or do I want to solve the problem? So I make sure I'm at the right state of mind first before I even problem the question. Because I doesn't know how she will react, right? But I can control how I react. So if I'm at a peace of mind, I know that, okay, I can assess the situation and I know how to respond to it. Yeah, so this is the first thing I do. So I make sure my state is correct first. Then I see if she can explode anytime or can talk.
So what are the signals?
If she snap at me, then that means cannot talk. Then talk later.
Okay.
Or like, don't talk to me when I'm writing.
Yeah. Then
I'm in my zone. Don't come and talk to me.
I know.
Yeah.
Don't disturb me when I work. Yeah.
That's so that's how I manage. And I can agree with in terms of choosing the house. Yeah. I was like you.
Alright.
The squirrel. But at the point of time, right, she's the guarded one.
The guarded ones.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate a bit more?
I wanted to go for a largest house at that point of time. I've been in the market for some time already by then. So I understood that, actually got chance there. Very high chance. But then to purchase that means we could empty all our cash saving.
Okay.
Yeah. But I saw that it's possible. Yeah, then she's guarded like, why you need to spend so much? We are using all our cash, then we don't have safety net, all those things.
Yeah, and I raised the point that it's also about how safe we feel, because he was running the numbers based on everything being status quo, which I think most people do, and it's great, right? But I was also thinking of, what if I lose my job? What if one of us can't earn income for next few months? Then would that be overstretching it? Yeah, and I was weighing possibilities as well, like to play the real estate side doesn't just mean a physical property. You can also explore like REITs and other types of that will give you the same exposure. So while I was raising that, he was showing his point of view. So in the end, we came to a common ground. We made that decision together. Yeah, of course, on hindsight, looking back, we do regret the decision, correct? But we regret together. And we can agree, because we made the decision together, we agree that if we went back in time without the knowledge that we know now, right? Because hindsight is always 100% one. Yeah, you look now, last time, let's say if you buy Nvidia stock, so scary. Now, Nvidia number one, like everyone's talking about it, right? It's easy to say, last time I should have bought more, easy to say now. So if we take away the hindsight out of the picture, when we were having this conversation a few months ago, we were like, if only we had done this, we would have made so much more. But then he reminded me, but we did this because, remember, we didn't want that stress. And it's because we didn't have that stress that we could go on to excel in our careers. Yeah, so it helped. There are trade-offs, and when the couple makes that decision together, it's better.
Nice. I like the part where you highlighted that without the stress, you could excel in the career.
Yes,
right? So it's a holistic thing. You cannot just look at like your property never do as good. There are many other aspects of life.
So we didn't make money on the property if we had went and overstretched ourselves. But because we didn't, we were in a better headspace and mentally, right? We made money elsewhere from earned income. And both our careers actually grew a lot in that period.
What I did eventually was I calculate the potential loss. then I thought, okay, look, if you're going to stay in this kind of property, this is a potential cost of living over there. Are we ready to accept this together? So she's willing to accept. I think for very long for myself, I think, okay, happy wife, happy life. So, okay, let's make the decision together. So as time goes by, we did regret our decision, right? But it was a conscious decision we made together. So we never lived with each other. At the same time, I think I also benefited from what Dawn valued. We got to stay near our parents. It free up our headspace when we need help from our parents to come and look after the kids so that we can work on our career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, I think this is a really good example of how, sometimes when we think of regrets, right, as a couple, we only look at one thing, which in this case, we were looking at the possible gains in that property had we gone for another one. Then that's with hindsight, But interestingly, you see, it was him who reminded me that it was because of our headspace that we earned the money elsewhere. So people always think like only on this side, right? But actually, if you look at it, you zoom out and see, oh yeah, I lost potentially here, but I gained this, which helped me to gain on another thing. And when you put that into perspective, it makes it a lot better for you to accept, right? And honestly, everyone has regrets, right? There's no perfect financial decision, only time will tell. And luck plays a very big part. Yeah, it could have been the other way around. Maybe the markets crash. And then we were like, wow, hey, we didn't go for it. So you never control, you can't know the outcome. But when a couple makes that decision together, there's more ownership.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief financial coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Now back to the show.
With this in mind, right, essentially we're to lay out the whole thing. The first step is always to understand each other's money narratives, right? Your ideas, your thought processes, and all that. And the quiz is just one way. There are many other ways, okay? And then the next step, you come together on the life goals, right? To negotiate on the common life goals. Then now the plan starts, right? So now after you have a goal, you plan and then you execute. But execution is an iterative process, right? And through this process, it's always very painful, right? So how do you deal with this communication of executing and then iterating and this back and forth with your partner?
I think number one will be priorities. Definitely, as I observe in the whole stage of where we are as married couple, priorities have changed. But in each of these priorities, we sort of sit down together and then first of all work out our sums. What are we dealing with today? Like how much are we spending? How much can we save out of that? How much can we then afford? And then where our priorities are at that point in time. So when we have kids, we then need to
I got an added question. So must you be like fully vulnerable with your partner? Like everything they must know? Because in order for this to build this, essentially you must know information from both sides, right? Yeah. So everything, there's no right or wrong, right? Just trying to get your sensing. Is it best to divulge every single thing?
Which is not easy. And my answer is no, you don't have to. You just need to anchor upon where are your commonalities. So again, my wife is very, very guarded. I don't really know everything of all, but we do have common goals. And with that common goals, because it's being aligned, like at the end of the day, we want to have some savings for our kids as well. At the same time, we do need to start our children's education. So these are like common goals. In different stages of life, we know that we cannot completely build our retirement nest, but let's put it in certain buckets, like let's achieve this amount, let's achieve this amount, let's achieve this amount. And with this common, we then rank it to say, okay, now, given all that we want, these are all the different things that we want to achieve, which should come first at a point in time. And these priorities will change. So the earlier stage will be like tuition fees. Well, we better make sure.
I love how tuition fee is top of priority for parents.
It's crazy.
Stay competitive.
Yeah, it depends on how many kids you have and then how many tuition that they want. And actually, if you do the sums, it's actually quite a bit of money.
Yes.
So that we then need to then look at how we do our balances. Because at the end of the day is, you have a lot of things that have all the leakages. Then where do we then plug the hole in terms of where you want to build? While you have like leakages, at the same time, we need to start building on this build as well. Like for example, uni education, retirement. Let's say 10% of what you want to achieve. So we set ourselves a little goal. Now, how do we, once we set that in stage, how we get there that's different because our personality are different. I tend to be a little bit more aggressive and constructive. My wife can be a little bit more guarded and more conservative. So how we get there, that's where we build little plans. Like for her is, she knows she likes to buy Taobao. So all the money goes out, right? So for her is, she got no control. So what she did was she actually set Xero in place that, every month this amount goes to this strategy or goes to this plan, and she's comfortable with it and she don't see it. So to her, she don't see it's part of the plan already for her. For me, cannot. How can I blindly invest on a monthly basis? For me, I cannot. I need to wait for this one weakness, good time can go in. So for me, I'll watch a little bit. So our behaviors and approach are different, but with that communication of what is the minimum that we want to achieve this period of time, and then we'll find time to then review it.
So you think it's okay to run different strategies?
Yeah.
As long as everybody then contribute to this same goals.
Correct.
Okay, so not everything need to be together.
Yes and no. So the other thing is also lifestyle differences. How much you want to retire as a couple, you may have different expectations. For me is, I'm okay to, if I can walk, I'll walk. For her is, why must walk? Take Grab. It's like, hey, but okay, this distance, just for 5 minutes, just walk. So there could be some, then also, since you have this kind of expected lifestyle, then your amount of money you want to save for retirement is bigger, lor. Yeah, so she needs to bring the reality that, okay, because if I demand this kind of lifestyle, that equates to this amount of savings I would need to recalibrate back your approach. If I were to just put everything in a kitty bank, under the pillow, or just put as savings, can I reach those aspirations? Then she'll okay, tell me, if I were to take a little bit more risk, what should I then do? So we calibrate that.
Okay.
But her approach will be different from mine.
I like it.
Fine.
I like it. And I like that it's a very real day-to-day type of iterative process. It's not like there's this framework, follow step 1, step 2, step 3, right? It's like, okay, there's a bit of back and forth. You gotta find the right time,
Find the right time.
Slowly talk through, plant the seed question, seeding the ground. And you can apply this to everywhere in your life. Your management, your team, everything. See, hey, this is like good idea. Oh, yeah. Slowly, it gets there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, prior to this episode as well, as you guys know, we did some social media posts and we invited you guys to submit your questions if you have any. And one of the popular questions that we got was really joint account. Yay or nay?
Yeah, that was what I was about to ask.
Yes, I know. I'm the co-host.
Yes.
Okay,
so
anyway,
yay or nay?
We have both, meaning to say that...
I like this philosophy. But then you start first.
Yeah. So we have both, meaning to say that for the first part of my life, we have split accounts, individual accounts. And I realized that my leakages is huge. Every bill comes to me. No clarity. Every bill comes to me. I say, okay, I shall take it. But it comes to that's not going to... So I sat her down one day and we sort of planned, why do we have a joint account? We work out what our expenses are. Family expenses, kids expenses, weekends, groceries. We work out the amount and then from there we join an account. Every month we contribute towards that account and deal with that. And if you want to have joint savings from an account, then we build on top of that and do deliberate steps. Then the remaining of your own money, you can keep it and invest and save or buy insurance in your own perspective. So that's how we have that both.
Fair.
Yeah. So joint account quite common. And it is actually a very clean way of doing things. It's not what we decided though. Yeah. So for us, we're the nay camp. That's all you did.
So you totally have no joint account?
We don't have a joint account.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we're individual.
Yeah.
Individual, but she has access. Yeah. She has access to mine.
So it's not joint account. BudgetBabe got 2 accounts.
Yeah, she got 2 accounts. So for our setting is she has every password to my account.
Mm-hmm.
She have eyeball on my sums.
Okay.
I doesn't have hers but she does tell me.
He know how much I have lah.
Okay, but to be fair, it's not right or wrong, right? As long as between your partner, you're okay with this situation, you come to a common ground, then that's okay.
Yeah,
right?
so the reason why we went down this path was because we explored different methods. The easiest and most common one is the couple open a joint account. You guys decide whether you want to equal quantum in terms of contributions, and then everything for the household spending that's shared, right? You just come out of that account very clean, okay? But there are some trade-offs, like you can't really maximize your credit card rewards. Right? Those of you who chase miles, you will know. So if you can accept that trade-off, okay, but I was not willing to accept. I'm like, I want my miles, I want my business class flights and everything. I want to optimize everything well. So that is one approach. It works for couples who don't really care so much about what they're giving up for the rewards. Okay, if you just want to make it clean and easy between you and your spouse, this is a great way. The other way is you allocate by roles and responsibility. So this was actually the method that I saw my parents implement and growing up, and I saw how that backfired. So in the beginning, it seemed fair, right? In the early stage, they were like, okay, everything related to the house and the bills like utilities, electricity, internet. Okay, then my mom would take care of everything related to the helper and the children. Actually quite fair, right? In the early years, but we know what happens later on. The kids grow up, secondary school, suddenly tuition, boom, your price shoot up. So my mom was then finding herself in a position where her expenses, her share in the household suddenly became so heavy. And she raised that to my dad, but my dad said, but this was what we agreed on. So, and I watched them argue about it. And he was very adamant. He just kept saying, no, I also pay a lot. You just don't feel the pain. So they were each only seeing from their perspective, and the communication just really, they couldn't because they're like, well, we made this decision together. So let's stick with it. Right? But who knew? Like times change, tuition became very much a necessity, and it is more so now than ever before. So the child part of it just grew so much. And then I told him about this approach, and I'm like, okay, cannot. This one really cannot work because we cannot project so well and accurately into the future. But if doing the roles delegation works for you guys, then the couple needs to make sure they review it periodically. I think that was what was missing in my parents' one. The last one would really be then in terms of you just split more or less so, and then you can come back and recalibrate if needed. So that's what we have chosen. Generally, he takes care of all the everything related to the car and the utilities and the house repairs and stuff. I take care of everything related to things that cannot be late for. So his SP services, every time gonna rate bill. You know what that means, right? Pay late.
Yeah, pay late.
Yeah, but when so jialat, you cut off because they're quite nice. They give quite a long time around. But I tell you what will be cut off if it's not paid on time. My helper, later complain MOM, IG, right? The school fees, the enrichment will get kicked out. And then there's a huge, we waited 6 months to get on the waiting list. So if I don't pay on time, get kicked out, I don't want to wait another 6 months, So this kind of stuff and the mortgage, right? The bank will come after you if you don't pay. So the insurance also, you have to pay, otherwise your premium never pay, then your policy lets your protection gone, right? Yeah. Then good luck trying to get a protection at the same level again. So this non-negotiable part, then I take care. Because I'm quite prompt, I'm quite on time. Yeah, he is less so. He tries his best to be, but because of the nature of his work, sometimes it falls off the radar. Then I step in and I remind him. So at the end of the year, and because we are financially stable enough, so we can actually handle some here, less, more, it just varies, right? At the end of the year, then we'll have that discussion like, I think last year I paid a lot. Yeah, can we look at the numbers? And then then I'll send him this very funny message, owe money, pay money. Pay me back. Or he'll tell me, I think last year I paid a lot. I think you owe me some money. Like, okay, let's sit through and then we will touch a little bit to contribute. Yeah. So that's the approach that we have taken. It's not the most, I think it's not perfect, but I think the important lesson here that we want to share is that you have to pick one that works for you. Yeah. And we decided on this because we recognize that he does forget his deadlines and I don't. So actually this is the better approach in the bigger scale of things, and we don't have to be so now. Yeah. So honestly, sometimes he pays for the meal, sometimes I do. We just take turns and we're not so, calculative about every single cent that way.
I think we are just more conscious about who is putting more money. Then we were like, oh, sorry. I think the next one let me take
and then the one who really I think really too much now, we will raise and stay it.
Or if the costing went up too high, right? Then Dawn will bring it up. Then we're like, okay, let's split half. The slight differences, we don't usually talk about it. Yeah.
Actually, all of this kind of rings the bell, like what we actually went through in the initial stage. So, for example, you also have the disparity between income between a couple.
Yes.
And there are times where she earns more than me. There are times where I earn more than her.
Yeah.
So we actually adjust that by saying, oh, because you earn more, you contribute more. 60-40, 50-50, 40-60, you know. So those adjusts comes into the common pool. And then from the common pool, we then pay off all your groceries, we pay off all your bills, cars, loans, everything all centered into that joint account.
Yeah.
And that becomes very clean as, this month we pay more, that month we pay more, all settled because it's a common agreement and managed from there. Yeah. And in fact, what's probably more interesting from there is that I'm just thinking something that I'm going to do is that how do I then invoke savings by choosing of choices to save more? So for example, right, we already have this, and then the next goal for me is, can I still have the same amount of quality but spend lesser? Whatever I save from that common pool, we invest out as a common pool to reap in for our future. That's something that potentially that can like squeezing. It says you're going to spend the money anyway, but if you spend lesser for that particular month, so this month you actually save $500 more. You know, then invest the $500 out as in this part of the common pool for the future users, and in the future, if you really need it, you know where to get the money from. So that's something to think about.
Yeah. Spending the reserves.
Right?
Okay. Fair. Awesome. I think it's good. We have gone through quite a bit. We are ready to take our personal questions. But before that, just last one to close the session for the panel. Like, what is a quick communication tip? Because everybody say communicate, right? So last one, just give me a quick communication tip to achieve something like that.
I think to even start this financial communication, right, the very first thing is whether you have trust with each other. So for me, I think in the relationship, I trusted Dawn more in terms of finances. I acknowledged that she got greater strength than me in terms of managing the finance, so I trust her totally. So that's why we are able to have this conversation.
My tip would be 2 words: no judgment and respect. I think if you guys have these 2 elements, there will never be a right or wrong approach. I think I see a lot of times people ask on Reddit, right? Yeah. Like, oh, should I use joint account? Should I do this and that? And the answers a lot is like the method. But if you really scroll down, then sometimes you get the wise soul coming in. And they explain it's not so much method. So the reason why this episode is also structured the way it is, we talk so much about the narratives first, the values and mindset, because you have to start from there. It's not about, do you upfront you decide joint account better or separate? Yes. No, after you have that discussion, that what we covered in the beginning of this episode, then you go into that, you'll be able to get to the correct answer that works for you as a couple better. Yeah.
I got a very, very good tip, right? You in every relationship, you want to build goodwill, right? So when you build up goodwill, tough times are easier to go through. Okay, it's not just a couple thing. It can be your managers, your teammates, across the board, right? So in any relationship, you want to build goodwill. So one of the easiest way to build goodwill, right, is to be able to kind of give them what they deep down desire ahead before they ask. Okay, so and this takes a little bit of a skill set in sensing abnormality, right? Because day to day you all live together, right? Then there'll be some variance to it, and when there's variance, you want to catch it. It's like, why you like weird, huh? Right? And then from there, if you can kind of hypothesize a bit, and then you, like, let's say Aaron was saying, right? Oh, maybe. Like now, wife make a bit more money than you. Then if wife come here and say, okay lah, how about I just got a promotion, I will give 60%, you do 40%. Right? Then she actually see very stressed, right? Then, it's like, wow, not bad, huh, wife? Like that type of feeling, right? So I think if you can sense a little bit and have the advanced approach, right? Actually, it's quite good, a way of building goodwill. So tough times are easier to go through.
So for me, it's avoid that conflict by finding that commonalities, and then we can build upon that.
Okay. Thank you. Can you give the panel a round of applause? Woo! Awesome.